Welcome back, and we have Heidi Solomon next, who's a psychosomatic therapist. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you.
So, firstly, can you lead in by telling us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. So I used to be a biomedical engineer, so I have a medical background, and all of a sudden life happens, and then I wake up one day with MS. So I had multiple sclerosis for a long time, and I was totally incapacitated. I was homebound for 5 years. I was not talking, not walking, not able to control my bladder. So I was wearing adult diapers, and I couldn't eat solids as well. And I was really sick for years. And just one day, a random person just said to me, why did you choose MS? So a lady just came to me and she asked me that question while I was in hospital getting my fix. So every time I had an attack, I went to hospital and I sat there and I was having an IV for, 4 or 5 days and of steroids. And then she just asked me that question, why did you choose MS? And that question led me to, answering that question led me to, well, if I had chosen MS, then can I unchoose it? And that was the whole journey. And this is where I ended up with psychosomatics and everything else I'm doing. So it opened the gateway for me to understand that we are mind, body and soul. And then when the 3 components aren't in harmony for any kind of reason, then we actually sit in disease, disharmony. And autoimmune is the most common one.
So is then multiple sclerosis an autoimmune disease?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Right. So what then, what did you discover on that pathway?
So when I found out that mind, body and soul connection there is something wrong there, so I went and I started looking for avenues where I can get things back in harmony and get my mindset right again. And so I went and I found psychosomatic therapy and coaching. And then after, getting over MS, getting over the symptoms, stopping my medication altogether, I went and I started psychosomatic therapy myself and coaching. So that's what I do now. So this is why I do psychosomatics.
Oh, that's a great combination, isn't it? You can have the communication as well as the body communication incorporated into it.
That's so true, because psychosomatic therapy is a journey of the person from the outside in, and then we say your issues are in your tissues. So this is where it comes from the inside out, and this is where coaching comes in place.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. What would some of the symptoms that you've seen come up for people while you're working?
A lot of people present their issues, as I said, in their tissues. So, for example, something like, cancers. Cancers are there for a reason that people aren't forgiving and aren't letting go of some issues, and therefore they're holding on, and then therefore they have cancers. This is an example. Another example would be desensitized tissues, what we call fat. People build fat deposits in specific places, specific spots, and it's there for protection. So, this is why we tend to hold this fat in these places. So this is an example of some different things that I've seen.
Would you have any examples of other maybe diseases in the body that present to you during, in your discovery with other people?
So I would say anything that is autoimmune, like asthma, eczema, psoriasis. So any of that is totally reversible, and people, after a long journey of having history of asthma, eczema and, hay fever and all of that, they let go of the reason why they were holding on to that, and then they become better in every possible way. So the disease cure comes as a bonus. So the people that actually seek psychosomatic therapy, they seek that to get harmony in terms of everything in life, and then they get free of their disease as a bonus. The one thing I tell a lot of people is that they need to listen to their bodies. Everybody needs to listen to what their body is telling them, and then to understand what's it telling them and what is it that they need to do to be able to bring back harmony to their bodies and minds and souls. It's a journey, and we're all in this together. So we need to be helping each other.
So it's like the balance in life that we're all seeking, isn't it? That balance of of things presenting themselves really to us. Yes. That's fantastic. Yeah. So just to finish, what would be your absolute top tip for our viewers?
The number one piece of advice, I give that to myself and to everybody I know, is watch the results you're having in your life in any area. Relationships, business, money, everything, abundance, everything. Watch the results that you're having in all your areas in your life. If there is an area where you're not experiencing 100% the results that you'd love to see, then you need to bring back balance and harmony to that area, and then you will get the results that you want.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful. And for more information on Heidi and psychosomatic therapy, then please go to our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Welcome back, and now we have Dr. Zara Chelik, our integrative health and wellbeing expert, and today she's back talking to us about overcoming depression. So Dr. Zara, we know that depression's a big thing with many of our viewers, I'm sure, experience it or know someone with it. Can you tell us a bit more about how to overcome it?
Yeah, so depression is comparison of our reality, our current situation, life or event that took place in our life. It's a comparison of that event or a memory or our sort of lifestyle or our personality and our achievements to either past or someone else's reality. So that whole comparison will create internal conflict, an internal conflict of energy inside the individual. So as we are comparing our life to either our past, and we want to be always there, or if we are comparing our reality to someone else's, there will be that shift of biochemistry happening inside. Normally when we talk about depression, us practitioners will go with the symptoms and then we do the diagnosis. But I like to know the real trigger. What is the real trigger? Is it the language that the individual is using and associating with day-to-day activities? Is it the language that individuals using to describe the current reality or the situation that they're in? Is that then really creating that internal turbulence and that internal vortex with the turbulence, and it really pulls them down? So I like our viewers to see what really is triggering that. When you say you are depressed or you know someone, pay attention to what actually they're talking about. I find particularly with this current situation globally, majority of the people that I know, and I'm sure you do too, people compare the reality of now to the past. So then they feel they are stuck. And they say, I am depressed because I'm not doing what I used to do. I'm depressed because I'm not going out to the restaurant and wearing my glamorous clothes. You know, language pattern, you can really see where it's coming from. So I like to see how people describe their depression. They say, I'm depressed. Well, what is really triggering that? So that is important. That's what we really need to pay attention. And as an individual ourselves, But also to those people they're saying, I am depressed, pay attention to what the trigger is. That is crucial. Then of course when we say I'm depressed, the physiology shifts, right? The body shifts, the psychology shifts, the physiology is telling you something isn't quite right because you're creating that through the language pattern, and you're automatically taking yourself to that state, to depressed state, and you want to be there. It's comfortable because you're getting some nice attention. And again, so find the trigger and use the language, then shift yourself out of that. You can do it. So anyone can really do that. Yes, the professionals, we do come in. I'm a mindset coach as well. Work with the psychologist, work with the coach, but really it comes down to the language that you use. Maybe you are seeing your professional for 45 minutes a week, right? But you are with yourself for the rest of the time. Then how do you talk to yourself? How do you shift yourself out of that state of being? So that's what I would like people to pay attention and stop comparing themselves to other people and compare their current situation to their past. And that's the key to overcoming depression.
It's a huge topic, isn't it?
And it
depression.
is very common as well. People experience it, and as I said, it is creating that biochemical reaction. Then the whole biochemistry shifting. Then there will be interruption to the gut flow, right? The gut function rather. There will be also imbalance in the nervous system. Remember I talked about our nervous system, how big role it plays, especially when we say I am depressed, I'm not happy, I'm this. It creates that imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system is down-regulated. The sympathetic nervous system is up-regulated. We're constantly running away from something. It's the fight and flight kicking in. So what does that do? When the parasympathetic is down, the gut functions down. And when the gut functions down, the neurotransmitters responsible in the brain are also not at optimum level. The other thing will be the mindset. Right? When we are in the fight and flight, and I spoke about that in our last episode, the imminent mind kicks over. So we are focusing on the problem and we're not objective, we're not creative, we're not authentic. And at that state, we are not thriving because we are focusing on the threat constantly and wiring your brain to focus on the threat rather than getting creative and objective to shift ourselves out of that state.
So what would your best advice be for our viewers before we go to the break today?
So I just want to talk about an individual actually, which I encountered and met quite recently. He was depressed due to the COVID-19 regulations. So he felt like his freedom was taken away. So as soon as he actually saw how he was thinking and went to the thinking process, it immediately shifted the thinking process, and it helped him to overcome and come out of that situation and then use it to his advantage. So it can be achieved, but it is all about the mindset and the individual and the commitment to self. So the advice will be to pay attention to your language and what you are doing with your mindset and your thinking process. Are you constantly comparing yourself to somebody else or your past and you want to stay there? So which feels comfortable? Because it is all up to you how you want to shift yourself and your life and what direction you want to go towards. Because if you choose and it is comfortable to be in that depressed state, then you will be in that state at all times. But if it doesn't feel comfortable and you want to actually snap out of it, then move towards that and take actions to move forward. Get a coach if you need to. See a psychologist, whatever works. Have a goal, and it is that goal that will get you closer to the outcome. But if you don't have any realistic outcome or any goal setting, then it is going to be challenging and it's going to be slower to get out of that depression state.
Thank you, Dr. Zara.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and overcoming depression, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. We'll go to break and be back after the break with more interviews. Welcome back. And now we have Pauline Rooney back with us, our Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author. And today the topic is chair yoga. So Pauline, welcome.
Thanks, Linda. It's lovely to be back.
And chair yoga, how is that? What does chair yoga entail?
That's a really great question, and it's something that many people get confused about and wonder if it's the same or, well, it's not the same, but it is. That's a bit of a contradiction. If you can do a posture on the floor, you can do it in a chair. And the advantage of doing yoga in a chair is you might have had an injury, you might not feel like getting onto the floor, you may not have the space to get onto the floor, or you might be a little bit more gorgeous in years, so therefore you're unable to get onto the floor. But yoga is all about the three. It's the breathing, it's the posture, and it is the mindset. So therefore, if you can have those three on a mat, you can have those three on a chair. It's very simple to do the same types of things. If you do a back bend on a mat, you can do a back bend on a chair. And it's a matter of same principle. You lift, you extend your spine, and you take your sternum back. A back bend's not leaning back. It's lifting and leaning the spine backward. So therefore, we can do that on a chair. We can do our spinal twists on a chair, just like that. You'd always do it to both sides. Even to the triangle poses in the standing, we won't stand, but you hang on to your chair. I'm a great believer in safety, Linda. If you're on wheels, you must lock them down or have your chair very secure. Safety's paramount. So you'd come out the side of your chair, checking the shoulders not up, that it's down, and you'd ease out like that. Now that's a lateral or a side bend to your spine. Same as on the floor. You do that on both sides, you see. So it keeps the body moving. Any movement is good movement. We don't just do the movement and forget about our breath and our mind application to it. So we would say breathe in and turn and breathe out, and then breathe naturally, and then breathe in and coming back, and then breathe out. So your breath movement is the same on the mat as it is in a chair. Forward bends, we can bring the legs out a little bit and stretch our spine. You'd never arch up because you wouldn't do that on the mat. So you extend and you come forward. Ankle work, how often have we heard, oh, my ankles are weak and I find it hard to balance or to walk? In your chair, circle your ankles. You'd go both ways and you'd do both ankles, and just that very gentle movement, that will help. The other one that I really like for bone density, hands back on the chair, right foot always slightly forward, and that has to do with the positioning of lifting. When you see people standing, they often come forward and lift like that. That's too much strain. So by putting that foot forward, holding your chair back, you lift from there. It's a straight lift. You can come straight up to stand, but that's enough work. Even if you're unable to lift, you can still push like that. You're still getting the bone density work in your arms. So it's a matter of modifying, but creating the same outcome. It's the outcome, it's the intent, your breath, your mindset. Again, you keep your mind focused. If you're on the mat, you're internalizing what you're doing, your breathing, your posture, your alignment. It's exactly the same on the chair. You're not thinking about anything else. You're really working into that body part. The other one, we often hear people say, oh, but what about our heart rate, the cardiovasculars? We've got that covered in chair yoga and mat yoga. And I like to call this a tushy swoosh, because we're going to hang on and swoosh our tushy from side to side. Slow is great, or you can go quite fast. You're safe because you're not standing up and what have you, and your cardiovasculars will pump along quite nicely. So there's many of those types of things. You can hang onto your chair and move your feet back and forward. Again, that is fantastic for the ankles, the knees, the hip, also the abdomen, because you're lifting to bring your legs out, so that's working there too. There's many, many things we can do in that chair. All of these will help us in balance, and we all know that we need to balance when we're on our feet. So lifting the leg and extending and swinging back like that, you're strengthening your hip joint area, and therefore, of course, that helps when you stand up, the strength in the hip joint.
So I suppose with people especially with ongoing over the last several years, with more work being done on computers, from work from home, online, no matter what the age group, I suppose that this is something that people can think about when they're having even during the work.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. This covers right across the range. Children, they're on games, and the average time for children under the age of 16 is 8 hours, and that's a lot of screen time on top of their schooling time, right? And then I think at 16 and over it becomes 15 hours and more. That I'd be very conservative in saying that. And if they're gaming or chatting to friends, they too can do this, and they don't even realise that they're doing something great for their body. You know, it's really important. And I must say, I notice that both of us smile, and that's a really good thing to do too, because it takes about 16 muscles to smile and 32 to frown. So it's very harsh on the face if you're frowning a little bit too much. So smiling is good. It also changes the mindset, right? So if you're feeling a bit sad and you're sitting there feeling, I'm sad, it doesn't do the mind, the body any good, Linda. So a big smile and a big breath and a little movement will change your day completely. It's really important. And teach our children to do these things. If they can learn at a very early age that it's simple to do, because they're busy. We're all busy. We don't always have time to get onto the mat every day. We might go to a class, but if we do something every day in the chair, we would notice a huge difference. It'd be fantastic.
What would your best advice be for people could take with them today?
Oh, the best tip I could give is what I call juicing up your knees. And our knees get stiff and sore. This one, you blow into your hands, rub them, have your fingers down, because that helps to warm up more quickly. Warm them up, cup your hands. We just have the lightly over there, and it's like a figure 8 lying down, and we move our knees around like that about 7 times. That's all you need to do, and then go back the other way. And I can pretty much guarantee you're going to find a huge difference in those knees. They're going to love you so much for juicing them up. It's amazing. If you're in the garden or sitting, anything like that, it's fantastic.
Wonderful. Thanks, Pauline.
You're very welcome.
And we'll be back next week with more amazing guests. But in the meantime, for more about Pauline Rooney and yoga for wellbeing, and particularly chair yoga, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll see you next week.